Okay, what did I just say? I had an inquiry about a guy who was on a date and the kissing part went really well at the end of the date, but there wasn't any chemistry during the conversation. So can you build chemistry, whether physical or intellectual, emotional, if the other part is missing? We're going to talk about that in this video. And here's the video. What usually happens from all the happy couples that I've interviewed that have been together for 10 years or longer, 90% of the time, the woman was not physically / sexually attracted to the guy right away. She thought he was maybe handsome or whatever, but wasn't like jump your bones hot for him. Whereas the statistic is actually the reverse for men. 90% of the time, they did want to jump the girl's bones, which makes sense because guys are hornier and more visually stimulated. So in most of these cases, what happened was they got to know each other over a period of time. And in most of these cases, that happened because there was no romantic pressure. So either they were in the same like social group, or they worked together, or they were a member of the same, church or religious organization, or some other way where they were in communication or contact often enough to be able to get to know each other without having that physical, sexual, or romantic pressure. And so it happened organically. But what happens when you know you're going on a date or you've met online and you really want to build both sides of that attraction, but one side is missing? Can you do it? You can, but this is actually where you might need to go into a bit of the friend zone to actually just test the waters. So for example, in this case, the guy had sexual chemistry when he was kissing her, but there wasn't any really emotional or intellectual chemistry or connection when they were just talking. So what they could do in that situation is just kind of hang out, keep the sexual tension alive by keeping a little bit of innuendo or naughtiness in there. Otherwise, you'll both end up just in the friend zone, and that's fine if that's where you want to be. But if you actually want to try and make a relationship work, you might have to scale back a bit and see if you can develop the chemistry intellectually or emotionally. And there are actually some questions that you can ask, and I didn't even come up with these questions, but they're great questions, and I'll put a link below the video so that you can start asking some of these questions on your dates, because they're a little bit more intimate and they'll help you reveal whether or not there's ever going to be a chance of an emotional or intellectual connection with the other person. Now, what happens if you have an emotional and intellectual connection, or at least you think you do, and the sexual chemistry is just not there? Can you change that? Well, again, this would requiring you to use a little bit more of the strategies from getting out of the friend zone or avoiding the friend zone, and I've done other videos on that, but essentially it's just about making sure that there's sexual tension when you're together, and that means you treat each other not like a friend. So you say things that are a little bit naughty that you probably wouldn't say to your mom or your sister or your grandmother, or even your best buddies that are guys. Like, you want to kind of cross that line just a little bit within what is appropriate and respectful for your relationship with the girl, and then see if you can spark connection that way. Thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, just let me know in the comments. I need more subscribers. I need your help with that.